Luke Rudkowski, founder of We Are Change, asked the question, why don't you do your job? Why don't you ask real questions? That, my friends, is why the mainstream dinosaur media is losing almost all of its viewers, listeners, and readers, is because the people know they're a bunch of bought and paid for corporate prostitutes. Joining us is Luke Rudkowski of We Are Change. Luke, great job. You've confronted Larry Silverstein many times over the years. They threw you out of there, and they certainly looked shook up by you.
Oh, they definitely did. I mean, I'm not like the regular prostitutes just asking questions from the press release that they give you. I mean, I personally believe it's the job of a journalist to ask real questions, to be the eyes and ears of the American people, to spur the lazy, to expose corruption. And when you do that, I mean, the same thing happens every time I go out to a major press conference. It's always the same thing. You ask a legitimate question, never get an answer. They duck and dive. Sometimes they even run away. And then they have a manhandler waiting there just to drag you out. And that's what I'm trying to point out to the people online. Why are these questions so hard to answer? And that's what I'm hoping people will get from the videos that I put out there, so they could actually find out what's really happening in this world, because the journalists aren't doing their jobs. And if they're not, fine. The mainstream media, forget them. We are the new mainstream media. We're going to make them obsolete. We're going to do their job for them. And that's what we're doing here at We Are Change.
You're a New Yorker. You were there on 9/11. We have Larry Silverstein saying they pulled Building 7, a controlled demolition term. We have the CNN footage, cops saying, get back, they're bringing it down. We have BBC announcing the building had fallen into its own footprint 25 minutes before. The list just goes on and on. Then NIST said it didn't fall at free fall speed. Now they've had to admit it did. It's a classical controlled demolition. We've got 1,500 architects and engineers on record now saying this is a cover-up.
Yeah, let's not also forget the survivors, the people who lived through 9/11, people like William Rodriguez and Barry Jennings and Kevin McPadden. I mean, those stories of people who survived and lived through those horrible attacks conflict with the official version of the story. I mean, there was a countdown from witnesses from 10 to 0 when Building 7 came down. I mean, everybody was saying, let's go back, they're going to blow up this building. And now the official story that it wasn't blown up, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It never adds up. And to find out the truth, all you have to do is look at the people who lived through it, the eyewitnesses who survived it. All you have to do is just do a little bit of research. Don't believe anything I say ever. Don't question everything, but just please do your homework. And, you know, I've been here in Washington, D.C. I've been doing other interviews with people on the streets. And sadly, you know, when I'm doing a man on the street interview, I'm showing a picture of Snooki, and people know automatically who that is. And then I show them a picture of their representative, their congresswoman, and they don't know who the hell that is. And that's sad, but what we're trying to show and highlight is just people go out there and think. It's not dangerous. Think for yourself, people. I mean, we have one life, it's short, and we deserve to know what's really happening.
The 10-year anniversary is coming up, and I want to get back into the controlled demolition of the towers in a moment, Luke, and all the harassment you've gone through over the years trying to simply expose it. But looking at the articles that have come out in CNN, Fox News, you name it, where the White House has said no 9/11 first responders are allowed at ground zero. Now, I know in past years, first responders have confronted people and said, you lied about the deadly asbestos dust. There were controlled demolitions. We want to talk about the countdown we all heard for Building 7. Is that the real reason that 10 years later, that down in that wound in the earth where they've built no new structures, where they could hold thousands of people, that no first responders are allowed? Or is there something else involved?
I mean, first responders have been disrespected for 10 years now. I mean, from the beginning, they were denied basic health benefits that were entitled to them by their job, not even asking for more things. They were asking for workers' comp, unemployment benefits, and they weren't even getting those. I mean, even when they were getting sick, the government came out and said, they're not getting sick. No, it's psychological. And it's just a slap in the face of what they're doing to first responders. They had to fight tooth and nail to get all the proper help and support with the James Droga bill. That was a huge uphill battle. And they're just pretty much spitting in the face of the heroes of 9/11. They deserve to be there more than anybody. And the mistreatment, actually right now, it's not even a surprise. I mean, they've been getting disrespected for 10 years now. So this is only a continuation of the policies that have been enacted by the government, who uses them for political purposes. But yet then when they need help because they're dying of so many horrible diseases, new diseases that doctors never even saw or heard before. They just get denied health benefits. They have to fight for what they were entitled to. And this is no surprise at all, Alex.
So bottom line, the establishment wants to use the heroics of the 9/11 first responders to sell their police state agenda, but they don't actually want the first responders there. Now, Luke, I have 3 news articles in closing I want to talk to you about. Number one, there's a Daily Mail article dealing with the BBC propaganda piece that came out a few nights ago that demonizes myself and others. And it says, 1 in 7 believe U.S. government staged 9/11 attacks in conspiracy. But I've seen scientific polls in the New York Times where 83% question the official story. Other polls where 60+% on CNN. I know in my own personal life, the majority of people I talk to don't believe the official story. So this itself is a spin, and I wanted to get your take on that before we get into State Department says don't invade the privacy of cleric on CIA kill list. We'll break that down in a moment, but first, what do you think of these poll numbers only claiming that 1 in 7 think the government did it?
I mean, polls are very objective. It depends what questions you ask. And sometimes, based on the certain question you ask, that's the kind of answer you're going to get. We've seen different polls, but I think many of Americans are supportive of a new 9/11 investigation. That's clear that we were lied to. That's clear that people that were responsible for keeping us safe that day failed us. And they did more than that. And we are still yet to find out because of all the documents that they're hiding from us. FBI documents, the Pentagon pictures, and I could go on and on.
Well, the establishment, Luke, tries to claim that you're a 3-headed monster if you talk about a new investigation. 6 of the 10 9/11 commission members have said it's a criminal cover-up. 2 of the 3 lawyers say it's a criminal cover-up. I mean, right there, several of them called for a new investigation.
Exactly, and it was set up to fail from the beginning, from the 9/11 commissioners themselves. We don't know the whole truth behind 9/11. There's so many unanswered questions by the victims' family members. There's so many conflicting testimony. There's so much evidence out there that people should definitely look at and need to look at if they care about this country, to save this country from the incredible hardships that we are facing, because 9/11, it's going to keep affecting us for the next 100 years. It's not going to go away. It's still going to keep affecting us, and that's why we need to find out the truth behind 9/11 and demand all those classified information that's being kept from us public.
Luke, the next reports I've got here is the fact that Fox News, CNN, you name it, are being forced to report. Remember, last year it came out that Anwar al-Awlaki, the number 3 in al-Qaeda, was a CIA asset and was 2 weeks after 9/11 at the Pentagon in a secret meeting with the Secretary of the Army. Now, media and others have requested the State Department file on Anwar al-Awlaki and have been told they're not going to release it for his privacy, even though he's on a CIA hit list. I mean, right here, you have the hijackers in the news trained at U.S. bases. You have the head of the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia saying they were ordered to let him back into the U.S. and told they were U.S. government agents. You have the FBI paying for their houses and credit cards in San Diego. And now it comes out they're protecting Anwar al-Awlaki. And in closing, Pepe Escobar, who we interviewed earlier, who's a Asia Times roving global reporter in war zones for a decade, has confirmed that the leader of the rebels is CIA, NATO-backed, and is al-Qaeda, and that Libya is being given to al-Qaeda. They used al-Qaeda against the Serbs. They used al-Qaeda against the Russians. Al-Qaeda is just a cutout for the globalists to stage terror. Your view on that, Luke Rudkowski, in closing.
You're definitely right about that, and that's why real journalists need to ask these questions to our elected officials. That's what I did with Joe Lieberman. You could see the video on our YouTube channel. I went up to Joe Lieberman about 3 times, the head neocon chief himself who supports all the wars, and I asked him, how come there's a known terrorist having dinner at the Pentagon that's on the most wanted list? This doesn't make sense. He promised me he would look into it. I had everybody call into his office. I had people write letters, and his official response is that he did get a response and then he can't share it with the people. So that just shows you how much evidence, how much important things that they're keeping away from us that conflicts with their official fairy tale version of the war on terror, which is really the war on you, the war on the people, the war on our freedom and sovereignty. And that's why they don't want to tell you any of this important information that we deserve. The people of America, we deserve to know the truth behind 9/11. We have to demand it. We have to stand for it. And that's why I'm calling for everybody to be in New York City on 9/11, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the weekend. I want you there. I want to be in the streets. I want to stand up. I want to convince people. I want to make a difference in this world.
Perhaps you should have your own event for the 9/11 first responders that aren't included, and invite the so-called media there to talk about it. And you've got Adam Gadon, grandson of the head of the ADL, Adam Perlman. That's all staged. I saw an article admitting that 4 of the 5 top al-Qaeda guys that are battling to be the new bin Laden were all from the U.S. intelligence. This is as phony as a $3 bill. This is a secret army used to take over countries, but also menace the West so the system can take our liberty and the TSA can stick their hands down our pants. Luke, how do activists out there join We Are Change? How do they find you on the web?
Right now, our website is having trouble, so just look us up on Twitter, on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel on wearechange.org. I'm not contributing to Adam versus the Man anymore, which means I'm going on to bigger and better things. We're going to start a new website, a new video platform. This is only the beginning. We're getting started here. We're stepping our game up. We're not going away anywhere. And just watch us, subscribe, be there with us, and be the change you want to see in this world. We're going to make history, and I know it.
Well, Luke, people can watch the video online. It's in Truth Rising, the 9/11 Chronicles, where the police come over when you're protesting with a permit in front of Building 7. People ought to watch this. And they come and they say, we know your backpack's not a bomb. We know your camera's not a gun. We're going to go ahead and say it is and put you in jail unless you leave. Yep. And then the police grab your camera and say it's a gun, and then give you your camera back. I mean, that's a felony to sit there and call in a fake bomb threat, but they did it. It just shows how scared they are of the truth. If we were just kooks concerning the fact that 9/11 is an inside job, they would just ignore us. They wouldn't try to demonize us. But the good news is,
dragged out of events for asking a simple question that never got answered.
Yes, they are scared to death of it. If we were just kooks, they wouldn't spend all this time trying to debunk us. But I love the debunking because it makes people question and then look at the facts and learn the truth. Luke Rudkowski of We Are Change, thank you so much for talking to us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Luke Rudkowski, ladies and gentlemen, defending liberty, resisting tyranny. Well, that's it for this edition of Infowars Special Report. Don't forget, we premiere the nightly news coming up September 1st, 7 p.m. right here at prisonplanet.tv and Infowars.com. I'm Alex Jones signing off. Great job with the crew. We'll see you all out there on the front lines of the Infowar.